Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Stoppage Time. This is match day 6 of the Champions League final match day, and there are a ton of games over the next 2 days with permutations and teams that can still make it into the knockout stages, which will start back up in 2021 in February. With me right now from Sports Memo and Wager Talk. From Wager Talk, it's Kevin Dolan, and from Sports Memo, it's Pavlos Laguretos. Nick Borrman will join us shortly. Funny story, Nick, on the way to his studio to do the show, got pulled over by the cops, an attractive female officer, but Nick's married, so he couldn't really do anything with that. I think he gave her a coupon code for 1 week of free picks. And then when she left and he tried to start his car, it wouldn't start. His battery went dead. You would think that a guy who's hitting 100% bankroll gain over 6 months of soccer could get a better battery, but it's Nick. He'll get the yellow card when he does show up. Let's bring in, we'll start with Kevin Dolan. Kevin, how's it going, my friend?
Oh, good, Carmine. No complaints. Got that winner last night as well. So, it's been an absolutely epic run. Apart from a bit of a dose of the flu, betting ways, it's been fantastic. Back-to-back 5% winners the weekend. So, yeah, all good.
Hey, say that again. The flu.
Flu. Man flu. Man down.
We used to have, a grade up here in Montreal, Guy Lafleur, right? So it's sort of the same or whatever. Let's go to Sports Memo's own Pavlos Laguretos. My friend, I experienced much better weather in Aruba last week than you have in Greece, I have to believe. The winds were somewhat calm. The water was fantastic, and it was like 87, 88 Fahrenheit. I'm more of a Celsius guy because I'm in Canada, but it was like 28, 29. I absolutely loved it. It's a shame I had to come home. How you doing out there?
I'm doing great. I'm very jealous of your tan. It's been a great weekend for me. I had like 8-3. But yeah, we're looking to do great. I've been great on Tuesdays for the last 3 months since the season started. I have like a 37% bankroll increase, which means that we're doing great in midweek matches, especially in the Champions League. So let's keep that going.
Yeah, and keep it going. We will. I'm going to get to some of the show promos after the first game that we're going to preview. But just to let you guys know what we're going to do today, we're going to focus on the games that are of real importance over the next 2 days. And that is, we're going to do Real Madrid, Borussia Monchengladbach. We're going to do Inter Milan and Shakhtar Donetsk. That group is up for grabs. And we're going to do the Man United, Red Bull Leipzig game, and then we're going to finish off with Ajax versus Atalanta. Those are 4 big games where there's a lot to be determined still. And then we're going to do our segments, of course, in between. We're going to do Pavlos's props, and he's got a couple of good props for us today. We're going to do Nick's numbers when Nick eventually shows up with his new battery in hand. And we're going to do Total Recall with Kevin Dolan, and Kevin's got a play that I like as well too. So I'm looking forward to hearing from him on that one. We're going to go right to the very first game here, guys. Real Madrid and Borussia Mönchengladbach. The line in this game is Real Madrid minus 134. The draw's plus 275. Gladbach are plus 375. And the total here is at 3. This is the first of 2 games where we're focusing on Group B, where all 4 teams have a chance of advancing into the knockout stages. The simple route for these 2 teams today is simple. If Gladbach avoid defeat, they go through. And for Madrid is if they win. There's another scenario where if Inter Milan win and both these teams finish in a draw, these 2 teams will advance, and Milan are on the outside looking in. It's extremely rare for teams to want to play for a draw. It's tough to play 90 minutes set on let's just play for a draw. But I'm not going to say it's not without precedent. It has happened before. I'm Italian. If there's any Italians in the chat, you will remember the Euros 2004 final group stage match, Sweden and Denmark. And that was Sweden and Denmark, I believe. And the final scoreline, there's only one scoreline that would knock the Italians out and send both Sweden and Denmark into the knockout stages, and that was if the game finished 2-2 that exact scoreline. And I'm going to go to Kevin here. Kev, do you want to guess what the final scoreline of that game was?
I don't know, Carm, but I'm guessing 2-2.
Yep. Janssen with an 89th minute goal for Denmark made it a 2-2 scoreline, and both teams advanced. And the funny thing is, we were talking about this before the show. Every sports book at the time who offers exact odds would not offer any odds on a 2-2 exact score finale or scoreline. So you couldn't even bet it. A 2-2 draw is normally about anywhere from plus 1,000 to plus 1,200, which is 10-1 to 12-1 odds. They wouldn't even offer the odds on it because they knew the fix could likely be in, and it was. Anyways, give me your thoughts on this game. And because Nick is not here, I'll give you my thoughts right after.
I'm going to have to keep this one fairly brief, as this game is my 5% play of the week. So, but that's on the total. But in terms of the side, I would have to take a look at Monchengladbach here, plus the head start. Money has continued to pour in on Real Madrid. For obvious reasons. We all know what's on the line here for Madrid. Potentially their first exit out of a Champions League group stage in the club's history. Zinedine Zidane's job potentially on the line as well. So, it's definitely a high-stakes game for Los Blancos here tomorrow night. The problem is, however, that they're just not that good. They've already lost to Shakhtar. They've lost to Cadiz. They've lost to Alaves at home this season. So, going into Spain's hardly a fortress like it used to be. And even with Sergio Ramos coming back for this game, physically, he's just not the player he once was. He's more of a mental boost for them at this stage. I think people forget as well, with all the must-win talks around in Madrid, that this is an extremely important game for Monchengladbach as well. A loss here and they might be out of the Champions League altogether. So, depending on what happens in the other games. So they can't afford to sit back and slip up here. You can pick up Monchengladbach +1 over a Pinnacle at around -140. And if I was taking a side, that's the way I'd play this game.
All right. You did actually keep that very short, which I'm perfectly fine with. And in watching, and I've watched every single, as sad as it seems, and because I'm a married man, but I'm still watching every single game because thankfully DAZN keeps the games on their system so you can watch these games later. So I tend to watch all of the games that I haven't watched live later so I can get an idea of how these games played out. And it also helps me with putting together sort of my metric numbers after the fact. And, if you look at this game, that first game, it looked like Monchengladbach, at home in Germany were on their way to securing the 3 points. And then Madrid had second thoughts. A goal in the 87th minute by Benzema, another one by Casemiro in the 93rd minute. And Madrid escaped with 2 points, or the story would be much different here. But, when you look at the final numbers of that game, Madrid had 21 attempts on net, 6 shots actually made on goal. They held many of the metric numbers there. And you mentioned Ramos coming back, and that's a big part of this team. They're a completely different team, I believe, with Ramos in the lineup. It's going to be good for them to have him back. And the price right now is pretty low. I saw it at 134. For me, it's as much as a draw might get these two teams through. The one thing that still stands out is Madrid cannot play for a draw for the simple fact that if Shakhtar Donetsk win this game and Madrid do not get a win, Madrid are out. So they can't play that safety game where they've got to keep their eye on the scoreboard. I think a win for Madrid here is important. I think getting their team back is important. And they played extremely well on the weekend against Sevilla. Playing those games on the weekend prior to a Champions League game, you're normally trying to avoid these teams, but they played a fantastic game against that Sevilla squad, get a 1-0 win. I think the price is good here. For me, it's Real Madrid -134. All right. That would have been Nick talking, but those are my notes. So with that said, I want to go to a couple show promos, guys. We're doing that Matchday package again. Matchday 6 package promo. You can use the code MD630 and get $30 off the Matchday 6 package, which is every single play on Tuesday and Wednesday of your favorite capper, includes the 5% plays. Use that and you'll get an extra $30 off at checkout. So you get that for $59. It's a great deal. I've got 8 plays up myself, including a 5% play. So head over to wagertalk.com or Sports Memo and you can pick up that package. It's also $2 Tuesday at WagerTalk. And every Tuesday we feature a capper at WagerTalk or Sports Memo who is running extremely good, and you get their top play for only $2. So at WagerTalk right now, it is Steve Merrill. Let me give you some thoughts on Steve Merrill's play. 5% college basketball steamroller play. He's 86% in hoops, 10-2, 83% in December, 6-1 basketball start. And he's got a 5% play out. Pick up this blowout winner for only $2. And then over at Sports Memo, it's Rocky Atkinson. How can you not like someone with the first name Rocky, man? College football 5% play. You can get that for $2. So head over to both wagertalk.com and Sports Memo and pick up those plays. All right. We are going to head into our first segment. For this one, we're going to go to Pavlos because we haven't heard from him in a while. And I call this Pavlos's props. Pavlos, you have a couple props up in the Lazio and Club Brugge game. Tell us what you got and give us some info, please.
Yeah. First of all, this match is officiated by my man, Cüneyt Çakır. He's the Turkish referee who is always giving. He's like a penalty guy. In 51 Champions League matches in his career, he has awarded 24 penalty kicks. That's like one penalty kick in every 2 matches. And in those 51 matches, he has awarded 200 yellow cards. That's almost 4 yellow cards per match. Last season, in 4 Champions League matches, he awarded 16 yellow cards and 6 penalty kicks in 4 matches. So I was looking at his stats on match days 5 and 6 in the last 5 years, which match days 5 and 6 are usually the most crucial ones. There are teams that are looking to get points, to get the qualifying spots. And I realized that in the last 5 years, in match days 5 and 6, he has awarded 27 yellow cards. That's an average of 5.4 yellow cards per match. Now, in the reverse fixture between Lazio and Club Brugge in Bruges, there was 1 penalty kick and 8 yellow cards. So I'm taking the over 5.5 yellow cards at plus 100 and the over half penalty kick. We need just 1 penalty kick for this to hit at plus 170. Lazio, they need a win or a draw to advance. Club Brugge only need a win, so they'll go out and they'll fight about it. They need to score. So yeah, I think the over 5.5 cards and the over 1 penalty kick will hit in this one.
Yeah, you know what? And putting aside the penalty kick one, and I always like to take these props, penalty kicks or an own goal being scored. I do like the over 5.5 cards because this is one of those games where, especially when you get into the last 25 minutes or so of this game, if they are even, 0-0 or 1-1, Lazio's fine with the draw. They're absolutely fine with the draw. You could get into that sort of that time wasting that comes. Goalkeeper takes a little too much time to get the ball out. He doesn't matter if he picks up a yellow card. They accumulate, and you'll see, a lot of the stuff in midfield where the guy kicks the ball away during a free kick. And it's just one of those things where when you have a ref or an official, much like him, who loves to dole out these yellow cards, it's a good spot in a game where a result is needed, and maybe he sort of enforces his will that, guys, I'm not going to let this happen, and doles out a few yellow cards. So over 5.5 yellow cards, I really like that, man. That's a good one. All right. We are going to get into our second game, and it's also a Group B game. Inter Milan, Shakhtar Donetsk, the current line in this game. Inter minus 350, the draw is plus 500. Shakhtar Donetsk is plus 850. And the total here is 3.25, which is a split line of 3.5. If you don't know how that works, half your wager is graded at 3, half your wager is graded at 3.5. So, like I said, it's the second game of Group B. It's clear cut for Shakhtar. Win and they're in. So they're coming here. They're coming to Inter, or Milan to pick up the full 3 points here. They can also get into the knockout stages if both games end in a draw. That's the least likely scenario. So I think a win is the most important. Inter's fate is pretty simple. They need to win and then hope that other game does not finish in a draw. If that happens, a win and a win in that other game by either side gets them into the knockout stages. Pavlos, I am going to go to you first on this one. Give me your thoughts, please.
Yeah, Shakhtar Donetsk have been a really abnormal team, at least in my perspective this season. They beat Real Madrid in the match day 1. Then they go and they concede 10 goals to Gladbach. And then they go and beat Real Madrid by 2-0. So it's just really an up and down team. The truth is that they've been as healthy as they've been in the entire campaign. They're only missing like 5 players now, while in the previous matches they were missing up to 10 players or even more. Inter Milan, as you said, they only need a win here. I think that they're probably going to get it. I don't think Shakhtar are a real threat to a focused Inter side. Inter have not been very stable on the defense. They've only kept 1 clean sheet in the last 5 matches. I think they were pretty lucky in the previous match where they beat Gladbach by 3-2 in Germany. Last week I had a prop for a goal to be scored after the 77th minute. The truth is that there were goals at the 73rd and the 76th minute, and there was a disallowed goal in the 83rd minute, which in my opinion shouldn't have been disallowed because it was a technical offside or whatever. I don't think it was a technical offside. Anyway, I think that Inter Milan lucked out in that match. They had some really good luck. But against Shakhtar Donetsk, I don't think that they'll base their success on luck. I think they'll get their stuff together. So I think I'll go with Inter Milan minus 1 3/4 goals at minus 102 here.
All right. I love it. Kev, before I go to you, I'm just looking at the chat and I want to welcome all the guys into the chat. I'm not keeping an eye on it because I've got to go through these these notes until Nick eventually gets here and we give him his yellow card. But I did see a comment from the Devil who says he's Italian and remembers that 2-2 draw. He also remembers the Baggio penalty kick in 1994. That ball has not come down from orbit yet. It's still floating up there somewhere. But it's not as bad as Simone Zaza's penalty kick, where he literally tiptoed to the ball about 18 times before making contact with the ball and completely missing that one there. So Italians and penalty kicks do not go well together unless we're playing France. It's a little bit better when we're playing France. Kevin, give me your thoughts on this game. Inter Milan, Shakhtar, what are your thoughts?
I honestly would have thought the Italians' worst memory of 94 would have been Ray Houghton scoring that wonder goal against you, but, whatever. This is a tricky line, definitely. And, as Pavlos says, the group dynamics here are crazy, because, Shakhtar could finish top potentially. Both could finish last either. So it's an absolutely, crazy last match day, especially in this group. Inter have looked incredibly shaky in this competition under Conte. They've won just 1 of their 5 games of the Champions League this season, none at home. So to see them priced up in this spot at minus 1.75 favourites against a team who sit 2 places above them in the group and have just done the double over Real Madrid, might on the surface seem completely unjustified, but to me, I agree with Pavlos. This is where winners come out. I like Shakhtar, I really do. I picked them up at 14-1 in the Europa League, for instance, at the back end of last season. Because when they're on form, they look fantastic. The problem for Shakhtar, however, is they simply cannot be trusted, in big time crunch games to deliver. And this certainly qualifies as one of those tomorrow night. Inter absolutely smashed this Shakhtar team 5-0 back in August. Look, while I'm not saying they do a repeat here, I do think Inter get the job done tomorrow night. And I would take this minus 1.75 line, along with Pavlos, if I had to play this game. Inter seem to have turned a bit of a corner late as well domestically. They've scored 10 goals in 3 matches in Serie A. So, they're coming into this game on red hot form for tomorrow night. And I'll take Inter minus 1.75.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, of course, on this. When you look at this Shakhtar one, and they're sitting on 7 points, tied with Madrid, but ahead of Madrid because they beat them twice. If you look at their goal differential in the group stages thus far, 5 goals scored, all against Madrid, 12 allowed, 12 goals allowed. It's very rare you see a team with a -7 goal differential sitting second. They don't play well when they have to chase the game. And we saw that against Monchengladbach, where they lost both games by a 6-0 scoreline and a 4-0 scoreline. If Inter Milan can get ahead of them early in this game, it's going to be a similar scoreline to when they played in Europa semifinals last year. Maybe not 5-0. And if you remember, these two teams did play in the semifinals of last year's Europa. It was a 1 game off after the change from the 2-game format because of the pandemic, but it was a 5-0 Inter steamroll over them. So while I don't think it's 5-0, I do believe that if Inter get the early lead here, it's going to be tough sledding for this Shakhtar team. Before we dole out a yellow card to Nick, who's finally joined this telecast, there was someone in the chat, and he's a friend of mine, but he's a friend of the Prez, and I want to welcome him into the chat. We call him Choof. His name is Paul. We play poker with this guy, and I'm just going to tell a quick funny story before we get to Nick. We're playing poker once, and he says to me, on the river, I move all in, and he says to me, do you have a flush? And I'm like, no. He goes, okay, then I call. And then I open up my cards, and I go flush. And knocked him out of the tournament. So why would you ask a fellow Italian at the poker table if you have a flush? You know the guy's going to lie. So that's my story of Choof. With that said, let's bring in Nick just in time. There's the yellow card for Nick. Actually, you're wearing the same shirt as the guy doling out the yellow card. Oh, dear God. And almost the same haircut. But Nick, tell us what happened to you today.
Well, this would be my second yellow card because first to start in the morning, I'm running ahead of time. It's going to be a good morning. I'm going to drop off the kid. Car won't start. Okay, I got time. No problem. Wife comes out, jumps the car. I'm thinking it's just the battery. Driving, drop the kid off, driving to the office, and next thing I know, I have red and blue lights flashing behind me. I got pulled over for, going a little faster than I should have. So as I get pulled over, I turn off the car, not thinking about it. As soon as I do, I'm like, oh, crap. So I go to try to turn the car back on. So now I realize it's probably the alternator, not the battery. Anyway, so the cop gives me just a yellow card, just a warning, thankfully, and calls the roadside assistance people that are on the expressway that I was driving on. And about 20 minutes later or so, they came, jumped me. I'm here now. Made an appointment for tomorrow. Hopefully they get the car fixed. So it was a good morning. All set to be a good morning, but kind of went backwards. But I'm here now, guys. Let's talk soccer.
All right. And with that said, we are going to go into segment number 2, which it is entitled Nick's Numbers. So with that, Nick, you're looking at the Chelsea game. Tell us what you like. Give us a play. Give us some numbers.
All right. Well, interestingly enough, my segment is called Nick's Numbers, but this play is more about the situation than it is the numbers. I mean, you probably already hit on this before, Carm, but a lot of these matches on final match day, a lot of them are foregone conclusions with teams having something to play for or teams having nothing to play for. This is one, Krasnodar, Chelsea. We have a group. Every single place in the group is already decided. Chelsea won the group. Krasnodar will finish third. Nothing's going to change that. So what I think we're seeing here is a lineup, basically a Team B lineup for both teams, and we're going to expect to see Chelsea B team be much better than Krasnodar. Chelsea, they also had the luxury of getting back several players over the last couple matches, like Pulisic has come back, Havertz has come back. So you got guys that have been out either on injury or COVID leave for a little while, and they've featured in the last game or two. So I think they're going to get some more game time here. They may not play, all 90 by any means, and they may come on as a sub role, but I think Chelsea is so deep. Their next man up, if you will, is a lot deeper, a lot better versed to play than Krasnodar. Again, I know this is called Nick's numbers. The one numbers I will throw out at you for this is Chelsea is number 2 in the Premier League in terms of expected goals per game at 1.91, and they're number 1 in defense, allowing just 0.87 expected goals. Best league in the world. Chelsea right up there with the best, both offensively and defensively. I just don't see Krasnodar hanging here. I don't think they're going to be having a good team on the field, and I think the B team of Chelsea will take them down. Chelsea -1.5. Sorry, I don't have more numbers for you in this one, but it was too good of a play for me to pass up on this segment.
Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fine. I watch the. I'm always a big fan of watching the press conferences of the managers, and you can find them on YouTube. Usually they're streamed through the team's websites. I did watch the Frank Lampard press conference yesterday morning, and I tweeted out some of the stuff that he talked about. And obviously, you look at injuries. Ziyech won't play. Adoy won't play. He's going to start Kepa. He said, as great as Mendy is playing, this is a perfect spot to get Kepa in and give Mendy a break. So Kepa will be in net. Gilmore will play in this game as well too. Kai Havertz isn't ready to. He talked about Kai Havertz not being ready to play yet. He's recovered from COVID, but he said that his symptoms of COVID were a lot worse than most players. So he struggled to get back, but he's now back and training and should be back in that lineup again. So I expect some changes to the lineup, but as Nick stated, this Chelsea team is just firing on all cylinders. And, Lampard's one of those managers that he's going to want to put his best team out there without sacrificing his best players. So he's still going to have a very good lineup out there. So you may not see Werner out there, but you're going to see a good team out there.
Carm, if I can, I forgot one.
Yeah.
I forgot one thing. This is Chelsea had fans in the stands for the first time this past weekend in the Premier League with Leeds. So this is the first Champions League game there'll be fans in the stands. So I did want to throw that out there too. The players were just really ecstatic after that game last weekend against Leeds, and they're going to want to put up a good performance for their fans again here too. So I think it just adds a little incentive for them to get a nice big home win.
Yeah, I know. And, I enjoyed watching some of these games over the last few days with some fans in the stands. It sort of feels like a bit of normalcy is returning to soccer. Those empty stands just don't do it, or the fake noise that they pump in. All right, guys, let's go to Man United and Red Bull Leipzig. This game is being played in Germany. Red Bull Leipzig are +125. The draw is +280. And Man United is +187. The total here currently sits at 3. United advance if they avoid defeat, while Leipzig will go through if they beat United, or if they draw and PSG lose to Basaksehir. That result is unlikely to happen. So it squarely puts it on Leipzig to beat United in this game. The reverse fixture at Old Trafford was won by United 5-0, which seems like a huge scoreline, but keep in mind 4 of those goals were scored in the final 16 minutes of that game. It sort of got out of hand, and United sort of steamrolled them at the end. I want to go to Nick first on this one, so I'm putting you to work here, Nick. Give me your thoughts on this United Leipzig game.
First of all, this is going to be a really, really good match. And watching the opening line come out where it was basically a pick-em between both sides and has now moved to Leipzig laying a quarter of a goal, I kept saying to myself, if I saw plus a quarter of a goal available either way, that's probably how I would look. And, my opinion really hasn't changed on that. Gladbach is coming in. They had that really well-played 3-3 draw against Bayern this past weekend. And honestly, they were the better team. They had better chances in that game. I'm surprised, they didn't end up winning. But again, still a good draw against Bayern. And that, that's no accident. I mean, they're the number 2 offensive team in the Bundesliga in expected goals, and the number 1 defensive team, in expected goals allowed. So they are a very, very strong team. The problem I have with them right now is just, laying a number on them is they just don't get wins against good sides. Against, in the Bundesliga, they drew at Leverkusen, they lost at Gladbach, they drew at Frankfurt, and of course they drew against Bayern this past weekend. None of those are particularly bad results, of course. It's just that I don't feel comfortable backing them to win and lay a number. They did beat PSG 2-1 in the group. PSG missed a penalty in that game, and they were handed a red card with about 25 minutes left, so it kind of squandered their chances of coming back. But they also lost to PSG, and of course they lost 0-5, as you mentioned, Carm, to United back in October. Scoreline was inflated, of course, but United held a 2.55 to 0.45 expected goals mark over them in that match. So clearly United was the better team as far as chances created in there. On the same token, United really haven't gotten a lot of good wins against the better teams either, but they don't have to, right? All they have to do is draw this game to move on, and they're catching a quarter of a goal. And I think that could be a huge part of this match as it plays on in the second half. They can, whether they're in the lead or they're tied for or they're drawing at, maybe 10, 15 minutes left in the game, they can try to kind of see that game out and really do everything they can to park the bus, if you will, and hopefully go home. Excuse me, I guess go back to England, moving on in the Champions League. So I think that plus quarter of a goal is going to be big here, and I think taking that with United is the way I would play the side in this one.
All right, there's some good games, and I wanted to focus on guys. I wanted to focus on the games that have importance. I was talking to one of the other Wager Talk guys about this, and he was asking me about some games, and I said it's important to take games in the next couple of days where, with almost certainty, who's going to be on the field. There's nothing worse than putting your money in, and if lineups aren't revealed up until usually that's 60 minutes before game time, you could be laying money with a team that 8 of the players are coming off the bench. So it's important to play the games where, and these ones here, Real Madrid, Borussia Monchengladbach, Inter, Shakhtar Donetsk, Man United, Red Bull Leipzig, that with almost certainty who the 11 players, unless there's an injury, are going to be on the field for both sides. Before I go to Kevin with Total Recall, just a little bit of business. Again, it's Matchday 6. You can get a Matchday 6 complete package from your favorite capper, both days of picks, including 5% plays. $30 off by using coupon code MD630. And those most of the games kick off at 12:55 today. So head over to wagertalk.com or Sports Memo and pick that up. It is also $2 Tuesdays at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. You get the best play of a capper from both sites for $2 at Wager Talk. It is Steve Merrill. He has a 5% college basketball steamroller play, 86% start in hoops so far. Steve is absolutely on fire. And over at Sports Memo, it's Rocky Atkinson. He has a college football play. It is a 5% play. You can get that for $2 as well. Those plays normally go for $40. So you're getting essentially 95% off on those ones. And finally, and this is the most important one for me as I look at it, I am putting up a show special. If you want to get a year soccer pass from any one of the cappers on this site, use code CHAMP350, and that'll get you $350 off a 1-year soccer package for myself or Kevin Dolan or Nick Borrman or Pavlos Laguretos at Sports Memo and Wager Talk. So head over there, click on that, use that coupon code at checkout, and I'm going to keep that code valid until December 31st. So you've got the rest of December to take advantage of that. With that said, before we do the last game, which is the Atalanta Ajax game, we're going to go over to Kevin Dolan. He's been a little quiet now, sipping on his Bailey's Irish Cream or whatever he's doing over there. And we are going to do Total Recall with Kev. Kev, what do you got?
Sipping on Theraflu, unfortunately. This is a game that I'm on for Wednesday. I'm doing the total in the Atletico Madrid-Salzburg game. I like the over here. Look, despite the easy projections in this group for a Bayern Atletico 1-2 double, which obviously still looks likely, a win here, would put the cat amongst the pigeons. Salzburg would leapfrog Atletico, and take second place in this group. So Salzburg know what they need to do in this game in order to progress. I know a lot of people are saying with Atletico needing only a draw here, they'll be content to simply sit back and soak up pressure. But as good as they are, I think Salzburg will find an opening at some point if they continually pour bodies forward. And if they get that opener, this game really opens up Salzburg are absolute goal machines. They've averaged a ridiculous 4.25 goals per game at home this season in the Austrian Bundesliga. And their 21-year-old Malian striker, Sekou Kota, has been on fire. He's already got 10 goals this season. So, as I said, as good as Atletico are defensively, I think a committed Salzburg offense that needs to win, as any other result puts them out of this competition, can open them up here. By the same token, Salzburg are incredibly open defensively as it is. They concede an average of 3 goals per game in this year's Champions League. So in a game where they're forced to attack even more than usual, there should be some huge holes for Atletico to exploit defensively, especially, if players like João Felix get in. So I see a similar type game as what we've seen in the first fixture. Both teams combined for 32 goal attempts, in an incredibly fast-paced affair, which Atletico knows 3-2 ahead in at the end. So, myself and Carmine will no doubt be hoping, obviously, that Salzburg fall just short of the mark here on Wednesday, as we have that big future on Atletico down the line to look forward to. But in terms of goals, I like this one to go over tomorrow night. So take that as your total recall play for Matchday 60, over 2.75 between Atletico Madrid and Salzburg.
I'm perfectly happy with that play if the final result is 3-1 for Atletico. But yeah, we're obviously both hoping for Atletico to make it through to the group stages. They could have done that if they had held that lead against Bayern Munich. Unfortunately, again, a late penalty did them in a 1-1 draw. But my God, the talent, João Felix. I think they've got a fantastic chance of winning the La Liga this year with the team remains healthy. And don't discount the fact, I said it before the season started, when they picked up Luis Suarez, that changed a bit of the makeup of the team. It gives a guy like João Felix a little more room to work with. Sometimes that player does. I think it absolutely hurt Barcelona. Griezmann hasn't done what they thought he would do there, and it's absolutely helped Atletico. And you have a guy with a lot of experience in this tournament, and he's helping Joao along the way. So let's hope they can get if they can get ahead in this game against Salzburg. I could easily see this going over the total, as long as, again, Madrid win the game, Atletico that is. So with that in mind, guys, we are going to go to the final segment, and this is a good one. Ajax and Atalanta. Obviously, the Liverpool winning over Ajax last week has given them passage into the next round. So this is who's going to finish second to Liverpool. Ajax must win to advance into the knockout stages, while Atalanta get through with a win or draw. The reverse fixture in Italy saw these teams play to a 2-2 draw. Ajax got out to a 2-0 lead at halftime. And then Duvan Zapata, it's 2 goals in the first 15 minutes of the second half, set this on away to that 2-2 scoreline. That 2-2 number seems to haunt me. I see it everywhere. I want to go to Nick first here. Nick, you're a big Ajax guy. You're also a big Atalanta guy. So I'm curious to hear where you're going here.
Yeah, these are 2 teams. In my opinion, they were the 2 most exciting teams in the Champions League each of the last 2 seasons. Ajax 2 years ago made it to the semifinals, had their spot in the finals booked before conceding too late to Tottenham to knock them out. I still stand by the fact that Ajax would have given Liverpool a better game in that final that year than the Spurs did. Atalanta last year was a similar team. They had PSG on the ropes in the quarters, and then 2 goals conceded in the final minutes, knocked them out, sent them home. Both teams are up-tempo. Both teams play fast. Both teams score goals. They're fun teams to watch. This year, I've been more impressed overall with Ajax, and really, to me, it's just Atalanta's been very inconsistent. I think a lot of it has to do with this 2-month stretch that all of these teams are dealing with. Atalanta hasn't been able to get through it as well. I mean, it's just been very, very busy for them. The benefit for Ajax is they play in the Eredivisie in Netherlands, which is a much, much weaker league. And, they can beat teams, and you see it in their scores where they're beating teams 3-0, 5-0, 13-0. Okay, that's not a normal one, but you get my point. So they can, during the domestic games, they can afford to rest some players, have guys sub in and sub out, come off the pitch early. They don't have to press quite as hard every single match, and they don't, every point during the domestic league isn't as crucial as it is for Atalanta in a very tightly contested Serie A. So I think you're seeing that play out for Atalanta. I think you're seeing them tired later in the part of the games there. They are getting some chances in a lot of these games, but I mean, if you look at their results recently, it's not the Atalanta team that we've come to expect. They have just 2 wins in their last 9 matches, and they're failing to score goals. I mean, in their last 5 matches, they only have a total of 4 goals. It's not the Atalanta team we know. And I think they can be. I mean, they still have all the pieces to be that team, but I think it's just too much for them right now. And they just don't have enough players to be able to kind of, juggle the schedule between both of these competitions. So I like Ajax at home. I think right now they're around plus 130. I think that's a decent price for them to come out ahead in this one. Atalanta only need a draw, but they're not a team that knows how to, really play out a game. If it was Atletico, like you mentioned, Carm, they know how to play out a game. But Atalanta, they're not a team that knows how to play out a game. And I think if they try to do that, that's only going to make problems worse for them. So I like Ajax. I think they're going to be able to squeak this one out at home. I like them to get the win here and progress from the group. So take Ajax. I think it's a good price, plus 130.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have closed it out, but beating Midtjylland at home would have put them in a much better position. I would have, you would think here, but a 1-1 draw at home. I usually look at, before I go to Kev for the final thoughts on this game, you usually want to look at the weekend before to see what players were rested and what players were used up. The great thing about Atalanta coming into this game is their game on the weekend in Serie A was postponed. The pitch was waterlogged, so that game never did get played, resting a lot of the players essentially. So they have a rested full squad who haven't played since last week's match day 5. Ajax obviously lost at home to 2-1. That doesn't happen very often where they lose at home. And that's 2 in a row now for them. So this is an interesting one. I'd love to see Atalanta go through here. And they possess that deadly team. I'm telling you, at any time we've seen this team score goals, and you've got a couple teams that can score goals here. But if they can get ahead of this Ajax team, it puts the pressure squarely on Ajax here. So, Kev, give me your thoughts on this game to close it out.
This could potentially be the game of the week. We talked about this dynamic briefly in segments before where we talked about Leipzig, we talked about Inter. I actually think that sometimes it's a bit of a detriment to teams who have an advantage heading into these types of crunch games, as they're kind of caught between 2 mindsets of where they're trying to play conservative for the draw, going for the win. Like Salzburg, who we mentioned previously, Ajax have no such complications heading into this one. It's a simple win or bust scenario for the Dutch team on this one. So, they know what they have to do. We seen Ajax. It was a game that I was on the over in, so I was a bit disappointed. On Saturday, they lost 2-1 to 20. Erik ten Hag was pretty visibly upset by that loss, as well as I was after that game. But he did say Ajax, look, as we all know, we're firmly focused on this clash against Atalanta because it's so important. So it was a bit of a look-ahead spot for Ajax. I wouldn't read too much into that result on Saturday either. Because of that, look, we know how Erik ten Hag's men are going to set up here. So does Gasperini, does he try and contain them on the road, or does he go for the win himself? I think it's a pretty straightforward answer, to be honest. I think Gasperini will know that holding on to leads, as Nick said, trying to play the game out, it really isn't Atlanta's style. They tried to do that against PSG. That did not work out. And the same, Ajax is such an attacking team, the same could happen here. Even at a pretty solid 3.25 goal line here, and the fact that all of Atalanta's last 5 competitive matches, across Serie A and the Champions League combined, have seen under 2.5 cash. I like the over here. What Ajax are going to do. They're going to push the tempo from the get-go. And Atalanta, in my mind, will have no choice but to respond. I think offensively, Atalanta are better than Ajax. So even though Ajax have strengths in terms of, organisation and stuff like that, if this becomes a firefight, I think it's Atalanta's best chance instead of trying to play for a draw. So I think Gasperini will be looking for Atalanta to match Ajax's intensity from the start here. So, don't try to be cute and don't try to play conservatively. Because of that, as I said, I like goals. I think as well, this could potentially, as you said, be one of the games of the tournament so far. So yeah, give me the over 3.25.
All right, love it. All right, so those are four games that we've covered, along with some segments to get you guys some winners. Hopefully, over the next couple of days, some of these are opinions, some of these are plays that guys actually have. Either way, we're trying to get you some winners. Keep that in mind. Obviously, as this is the final match day, what we're likely going to do is for next Tuesday's show, the draw for the round of 16 is on Monday. So we'll actually have the matchups of the round of 16, and we'll have some odds out. So what we'll likely do is do a preview of the knockout stages next Tuesday, and then we'll give out some free plays on the EPL weekend that follows next weekend. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Smash that like button. There's a bunch of you guys in there, and there's not enough likes. Get them. Show Nick you appreciate him speeding over and almost getting a ticket to watch this, to do this show today. And all the guys that commented, best of luck with I know you guys got a ton of bets I see in that chat group going. $2 Tuesday at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. Don't forget about that. And Champ350 is the code to get $350 off a 1-year soccer package for your favorite capper, which includes all 5% plays. As always, guys, good luck with your wagers, and we'll see you next Tuesday.